All right, everyone. Welcome. My name is Kimber Lanning, and I'm with Local First Arizona, and we are co-presenting today with our longtime partners, Pinnacle Prevention. I wanted to just start by reminding folks that we are going to have a significant amount of time toward the end for question and answer session. So if you do have any questions, you can either type them in the chat box as you think of it, or save them, and once we stop sharing the screen, we can get as many questions answered as possible. And then I also just wanted to thank you all for taking time to be here. We recognize a lot of the challenges that come with trying to understand and navigate the many, many complex systems that the government has put out there. And just as a reminder, Local First Arizona and Pinnacle Prevention, we are not the government. We are doing our best to interpret, to streamline it and make these things easier for you, and also offering resources to help you increase your capacity. So again, want to thank you for being here. And I would like to also introduce on my team, just so you know she's here, Somlin Rory from our food team is here. And then I'd also like to hand it over to Adrian from Pinnacle Prevention to introduce her team, and she's going to kick us off here. So Adrian, over to you.
Thanks, Kimber, and it is so great to be with all of you today. And I see lots of familiar faces and lots of familiar names, so glad to be in good company with all of you. I am Adrian with Pinnacle Prevention, and I am joined here today by Jesse, also with Pinnacle Prevention, whose name also says Adrian. There's not Adrian squared here in the midst. I would love to be able to duplicate myself, but have not been able to do so yet. But happy to be with you today. So we're going to get things kicked off. And as Kimber mentioned, we're going to go through a lot. There's a lot of jargon classically in what we're saying. So we're going to try to break it down. Stop us at any point if you have questions as we're going. But as Kimber mentioned at the end, we're going to have plenty of time to answer questions as well. And if for any reason this goes longer than the 1 o'clock, I want you to know I'll have to jump off promptly at 1, but Jesse will stay with you all as long as is needed to answer any questions that might be that you might have. So with that, we are solely focused today on the pandemic assistance for agriculture and all of the different funding opportunities that are coming through from USDA. So as you've been watching these different USDA funding opportunities come through, you may be feeling a little bit like this, just confused and frazzled and like, I saw one, okay, wait a minute, what's different about this new one? Well, wait a minute, I thought that application already passed. What is this about? So just know that hopefully we'll get you to a space after this conversation today where you're feeling slightly better, not completely confident, but slightly better about how to navigate it. And at least if nothing else, knowing that you have resources and help from ourselves and from Local First to be able to navigate all of these different funding opportunities. Our goal is to see as much of these different funding opportunities come into Arizona as possible. And so we know you are the right folks to carry out the funds and these activities. So we want to make sure that you have access to them as well. So with that, for some of you have been knee deep in USDA and kind of know all the ins and outs. And for others, this may be your first time where you're starting to explore all of the different USDA funding opportunities. I do really appreciate this visual when you reflect on all of the different programs and components that they have in reflection of how our local food supply chain operates, but also looking at this, if you've seen it before, it can be completely overwhelming. And again, many acronyms and many different things, and easy to get confused with all of these different programs and opportunities. And do know after this conversation today, we will make sure that we share these slides and these graphics with you if you want to be able to refer to them in the future. So we're not going into all of these today. We are going to focus on a few key funding opportunities that have come out. Again, if you're not familiar with USDA, these are all of the different divisions within USDA. Most commonly, you hear folks talking about food and nutrition services. They are the ones that administer and house programs like the SNAP program and WIC. But today, we're really focusing in on Farm Service Agency, so FSA, and then also opportunities through Agricultural Marketing Services, which is AMS, and then some funding opportunities through Natural Resources Conservation Services, which is NRCS, and then also NIFA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And there's a new office that has recently been added to U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. So OUAIP, one more acronym and alphabet soup to add to your list. But again, we'll try not to use the acronym jargon as we're going through today, but this is just a Swiss Army knife of complexity. It's kind of a beast, but it's also a beautiful thing. So we're happy to have this funding and all of these supports for our agricultural system in place. Now it's just a matter of knowing how to navigate all those moving parts and pieces. So we've essentially kind of categorized these different buckets of funding opportunities that are available right now into two buckets. There's some farmer direct and some direct producer opportunities, which Jesse is going to go over. And then there's more organizational agency collaboration type opportunities, which I'm going to go over with you today. All of these things, though, we know that our local food supply chain is interconnected, and all of these things should be connected and interacting together as well too. So partnerships and this collective energy in this space together becomes really important. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jesse, who's going to start us out by talking about the specific funding opportunities and assistance directly for producers.
Thanks, Adrienne. So we'll start with our kind of most recent one. If you've been following along with any of the USDA announcements, this one was in the most recent American Rescue Plan. And this one is specifically debt payments that are going directly to what the USDA terms as socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. So that's a USDA definition. And when they use socially disadvantaged, you might see the abbreviation SD. They mean any Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian American, and Pacific Islanders. So any farmers that are identifying with those groups are going to be eligible for these direct payments. And so it has to be an already existing loan that they have with USDA, and they already have it registered with Farm Service Agency or at their FSA. But 120% of that loan is going to be eligible for direct reimbursement. And this was really welcomed. We saw that some of the previous COVID relief funds that came out, there was some equity challenges with some of those distributions. So I think this has been a program that has come out recently to try to correct and really target some of these other groups that might not have been applying for the other relief programs. And how this is going to work is it's going to come as in a direct letter from FSA. So that's the Farm Service Agency is going to send those producers that meet that criteria. They have an eligible loan and they also meet the socially disadvantaged criteria. They'll get a letter directly from FSA. So our message here is just to really keep an eye out for something that's going to come in the mail, and then they can just sign that and return it. And then FSA will then assist with any of the documentation and help to get that loan payment processed. So you can also contact a local FSA. We have a link at the very end and we'll put it in the chat as well. If you aren't sure if you meet the qualifications, there are a variety of different offices all over Arizona that can assist depending on where you're participating in on today's call, or if watching it later. Every county has at least one office that you can contact for additional assistance. So that's the newest one that we've seen that has come out recently. So keep an eye out for those letters. Again, that's going to come kind of on the back end from FSA, which is going to be, I think the best way to reach those that are eligible. Okay, if you'll go to the next slide, Adrienne. The next program is, you might hear the acronym CFAP. That's the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program, and we're currently in the second rendition. So this is probably the program we get the most questions about, because this is the program that provides producers with direct financial assistance to help absorb any of the losses that they attributed due to shutdowns or breaks in supply chains, as the world and as we were all kind of figuring out how to rescue and reroute some of our food and emergency food. So this helps to alleviate any of the costs that were incurred by farmers for either not having like their typical restaurant or school or whatever outlet that they normally had to supply their food. If that was disrupted and they experienced a loss for any reason, they can submit an application to get funds and reimbursement for those losses. And also it covers any losses from if you were going to plant and you decided not to. So if you can show like your planting records historically and how you had to shift those because you didn't have a secure outlet for or supply chain for those foods that you would have produced had there not been this disruption. So it's funding up to $250,000. So it's a big chunk of change. There's a lovely website. I've put it here. I'll also put it in the chat box, but there was lots of questions on how to apply and where to go and who's eligible. So they've recently redone this website, and there's like a payment calculator. So you can put in like your crop and exactly try to figure out how much you could be eligible for. There's tons of different links and resources, but I think the best place to start is honestly this great hotline that they have offered. I've put the number big, and I'm hoping that people can share that widely. I actually gave them a call this morning just to see how it would work and just to ask them any questions. And I wish any hotline I ever called was that responsive. I literally pushed one for English. You could push one for English, two for Spanish, and you're immediately connected with an actual human. So like you thoughts of calling, the government or USDA to ask questions, like you're imagining long holds and having to push 17 different buttons and finally get routed to a human. That's not the case. They were absolutely wonderful to talk to, incredibly helpful for answering any of the nuanced questions that you have. This call service is designed solely to help answer producer questions on their end, help them navigate the application process. So if that means getting a mail copied, if you have internet or connectivity issues, they can help to mail you copies for applications. You can talk to them about what exact issues or questions you have. It's just been a wonderful hotline. So I think it's the best place to start if you have any kinds of questions about if you're eligible, should you apply. Largely when I talked to them this morning, they were saying that there are not enough producers that know about this. And so we've been kind of saying it for months now, but we're just hoping to get the word out to as many people as possible that this funding is available and all producers should take advantage of it. Oh, missed the hotline info. It's on the slide, but I'll go ahead and put the number in the chat as well. I have 2 more slides. So as soon as I've done all these links I'm talking about, I'll pop them in the chat box. Okay, Adrian. Oh, thanks. Adrian popped it in the chat box. So honestly, it's a great hotline. They have, like I said, 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. But if you have any that any of the growers need, I'm like, okay, this one's kind of a busy one, but this is actually a coming soon funding. It's $75 million that with the farm bill that passed in 2018, this was kind of a new program, but really it just combined outreach efforts from 2 existing programs. I got removed some of the red tape that made it difficult for those programs to talk to one another. So it's new in the sense that it just hopefully makes it a little bit more streamlined for existing programs the USDA already had. But it's $75 million. And the idea is to provide direct technical assistance to encourage socially disadvantaged, as we've talked about before the definition, and also veteran, beginning farmers and ranchers help with bringing on a new operation or just operating their existing farm. So it provides education and training, and also does making sure that the existing USDA programs, there's equity in that distribution of funding and program access. So we've been hearing a lot that, and USDA has recognized over the last couple of months that there are definitely some challenges with reaching all of the farming groups. And so making sure that we have equitable resource distribution is one of their big priorities. So this TA funding will be directly used for that. It's going to go to community-based and nonprofit organizations to kind of assist growers with accessing existing USDA resources and grants and loans and funding opportunities. So there's the list of eligible, that's just a small list. There's others that can also apply. So just stay tuned for this. We know it's coming, but we're just waiting for that formal announcement. The rulemaking process sometimes takes a little while with USDA, and then the pandemic kind of, puts that all in, and then a whole different administration came in. So lots of different moving parts here, but this is going to be a really great, I think, opportunity for lots of groups that are together on this call as well. And I think that was my last one. Oh, nope, I'm sorry, I have one more. So we know that some of our textile mills in particular were shut down during the pandemic as, everyone was trying to, stay safe and stay at home. Lots of our industries were impacted by that. So some of our cotton producers in particular didn't have outlets to produce some of the cotton because so many of the mills were closed for a period of time. And so this Pandemic Assistance for Cotton Users program, it's $80 million. It's a one-time payment that goes directly to cotton producers through one of two programs. So again, this is an alphabet soup here, but if you are in or providing assistance or in the cotton industry, you'll know these two different delivery programs. And again, it's going to be a one-time payment. Those started in April, and that's going to be through AMS. So those are kind of all the direct pandemic response programs that are current for producers. And so then Adrian's going to take over and talk about some of the more organizational and collaboration opportunities.
Hey, thanks, Jessie. And again, we'll have time for questions at the end for any of those individual programs. So these are now more of the organizational agency collaboration opportunities that have come through or are about to come through that you may have seen. So I'm going to start first with the LAMP program. So that acronym stands for Local Agricultural Marketing Programs. It's over $100 million of funding that's being made available through AMS and R&D. And basically the intent of this funding is to support the development, coordination, and expansion of direct producer to consumer marketing, local and regional food markets and enterprises, and value-added agricultural products. There's 3 different grant opportunities under the LAMP programs. So the first one is LFPP, which is Local Food Promotion Program. I see Cindy here with us. So Sun Produce and Pivot Produce have been recipients of LFPP grants in the past. We have Rosebird Farms as well out in the Mojave area, in Deyabakia. So we've had some really great LFPP projects here in Arizona. The second one is FMPP, which is Farmers Market Promotion Program. Excellent opportunity for folks who are working in the farmers market space here. We've had several FMPP grant recipients in Arizona across these past years that have done some really great outreach and promotion things. And then the final one is the Regional Food System Partnership, which is RFSP. This is the second year of funding for that grant. This was a brand new grant that just started last year. And we're going to talk about what that looks like for us here. I can say in Arizona, Pinnacle Prevention also helps to administer the Arizona Food System Network, the statewide coalition. And we will be intending to apply for that RFSP funding this year. Many of you folks here on the call supported us in an application last year, and we're excited to continue to submit for that this year. So again, just an example of how we're going to make sure those dollars come into Arizona on some of those efforts. We have the grant deadlines listed here on the screen. They are coming up pretty quick, especially for those first two, the LFPP and the FMP. Are due by June 21st. The one thing I want to say, if it is your first time submitting a USDA grant, they're big, and Kimber will be able to speak to helping folks out with that at the end, but it takes a lot of extra due diligence on the front end to make sure you're even ready to be able to apply. You do not want to wait till the last minute on those dates. Seeing a question in the chat, what makes the RFSP different from the LFPP and the FMPP? Great question, Dion. So LFPP is more about expanding, I would say it directly impacts the food producers and their ability to expand business operations and expand local foods within regions or within jurisdictions of the state in whatever way that that may look like. Farmers markets, but more so in that market environment and that local farmers market environment of increasing awareness to outreach and marketing and promotion. RFSP is more so about, yes, supporting local foods, but from a coalition-wide and more of a policy and systems change lens type of perspective of what are we collectively doing as a whole and a collaboration of many partners together to improve our local food system here in Arizona. So all three of these center local foods, but the end users are a little bit different in each one, where I would say LFPP is more centered around the local producers, FMPP is more around the local markets, RFSP is more about the local food system as a whole collectively. I hope that helps, Dion. Okay. So the next one that you may have seen is the Gus Nip Grant, which is the SNAP Fruit and Veggie Incentive Grant. This used to be known as FINI, which is Food and Security Nutrition Incentive, and then they renamed it as Gus Nip after Gus Shoemaker, who was one of the congressional folks that was the original intent behind the creation of the program, and he passed away. So they ended up naming this after his namesake. Here in Arizona, we have been the recipients of these dollars for the past 4 years, and we have this branded as Double Up Food Bucks Arizona. This is administered under us at Pinnacle Prevention, and it's a statewide fruit and veggie incentive program. Again, many of you are partners with us in this program and in this effort. And so for this, there's 2 funding opportunities that recently came out. The annual funding opportunity to apply as a project, which we did indeed apply for here in Arizona, which we're looking to expand, double up into corner stores. And you can touch base with us offline if you want to hear more about that. And then there was a separate COVID funding opportunity that also came through. That those 2 deadlines have also already passed. Those were for existing funded projects. We did not apply for that, the COVID funding here in Arizona, because we've been fortunate to have the additional state supplemental funding as well too. Yes, and Kelly has joined us from the team. She is in the chat box there. If you're interested in becoming a partner in this effort with us, definitely email at that address that Kelly dropped into the chat. Thanks for that, Kelly. All right, and then this next one is the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program, so also known as SBGP. This has been around for years as well too. This funds go directly through the Arizona Department of Agriculture. Many of you may have applied for projects through the Department of Ag over the years with this funding. So not only did they have the annual funding and process that normally comes through, but they also had special COVID relief stimulus dollars allocated to the Specialty Crop Block Grant. Now, to access those COVID relief dollars that can only be applied for and submitted through the Arizona Department of Agriculture. That is the big application that's due June 11th. I did reach out to the Arizona Department of Ag to confirm that they are indeed applying for those COVID dollars, and they did confirm that they are submitting an application. They couldn't share much more about the types of projects that they intend to fund, but this is what is going to be granted to us here in Arizona. They have about 1.7 million in Farm Bill funding and 2.3 million in this stimulus funding appropriation. So that's a good amount of funding that can go towards additional projects. So I would say stay in touch with the Department of Agriculture, and we'll also be a liaison for you to help you identify how to apply for those funds once they get that successful application in. And then here's some that are coming soon. So NIFA also has administered the farm stress assistance programs. This is another one where it's an appropriation of $28 million that's also going directly through the state departments of agriculture. They have not released that yet, so Department of Ag has not had to apply for those dollars yet. But we will stay in touch with you to let you know as soon as those are made available. We anticipate that those will be announced this summer, and we hope to work very closely with Department of Ag to let them know what those needs are. We can't give you any more details about the types of projects and what will or will not be allowable under this one, but this one is definitely intended to address the stresses of COVID and COVID relief specifically. And then finally, another one coming soon where they did some appropriations and COVID relief dollars is the dairy donation program. So this one's going to be known as DDP. This one is going to address, you might have heard about dairy farmers who are having to dump milk. So this is going to move back that surplus milk so that it could be donated, and those donations will go directly to nonprofit organizations that are participating in hunger relief or food distribution organizations. And again, it will help to offset the cost to dairy, as well as make sure that we're moving that product out into the community so that it's not getting dumped. So no details yet, but again, that one should be coming soon as well. And then two other grant funding opportunities that are separate from pandemic assistance, but were recently announced, and of course, link into all of this that I'm sure is probably on your radars as well, that I wanted to make sure that we touched on. The first one are these new urban agriculture and innovation production grants. So this is that new one that's through that new office, that's through NRCS. And the purpose of these grants is to promote, encourage and promote urban, indoor, and other emerging agricultural practices. This could include projects like community gardens and farms that are located in urban areas, suburbs, and urban clusters, rooftop farms, vertical production, green walls, indoor farms, greenhouses. So we know all of you are doing a lot of cool work in this area. So I encourage all of you to apply. They did not, when we looked through the RFP, they don't specifically define what an urban community means. So there's not like a certain population size that says you can or cannot apply for these dollars. So I would encourage you to, if you have a project that fits some of that criteria and the purpose, to definitely apply. These applications are due July 30th. You have a little bit more time. It's a lower amount of funding. So that's $4 million in total funding nationwide. So it is going to be a little bit more competitive. You can apply for either a planning project or an implementation project. Planning projects are going to be between $50,000 to $200,000 in funding. Implementation projects are going to be between $50,000 and $300,000 in funding. And then the next one is the Community Compost and Food Waste Reduction Project, CCFWR. Also a pretty new one. We were really lucky to have Prescott, the town of Prescott, and Prescott Farmers Markets were instrumental in securing this grant for a really cool project last year. And really quick, I see the comment in the chat box from Lisa. Who administers the LAMP programs and where can I get the applications? The LAMP programs are under AMS, so within the USDA Division of Ag Marketing Services. And you can find those grant applications on grants.gov, and we'll show you in just a minute where you can download those RFPs and find that information, Lisa. So these compost projects, these new grants are out there. Again, if you want an example of success that's pulls from Arizona, you can pull from the GREAT project in Prescott with the town of Prescott and Prescott Farmers Market. They're doing amazing things. We're thrilled to see that they were awarded last year. These grants are due July 16th. Also a smaller pot of total funding, so $2 million in total funding. That does make it a little bit more competitive, but the awards are between $45,000 and $90,000 for your project for this as well. And if you do need help with acronyms, this is a little bit outdated. You know, this was from late 2018, early 2019, but I still do appreciate this guide to all of the different Farm Bill programs. As I mentioned, it feels like sometimes USDA is this Swiss Army knife of all these different things, and it's really hard to understand what is available to you. This is All of these programs still exist. They have rolling grant funding cycles. Some of them have received special COVID relief dollars. But if you need to just try to wrap your head around what these different programs are, from loans to grants, this is a good one-stop shop and tool to be able to reference and use. And again, we'll share this with you so that you'll have it a little bit bigger so it's easier to read as well. So these are the resources here, some that Jesse mentioned and others that I mentioned as well too. It has the pandemic assistance page of the USDA website where you can find information about all of these different opportunities and moving parts. If you need to ask questions or find your local USDA service center, you can go here to farmers.gov/service-center-locator. You can type in just Arizona, select your county dropdown, and a bunch of locations out in communities should pop up. So you can go visit them in person, or you could call them as well too. The CFAP portal, if you want to apply for those CFAP funds, now it's all online, very user-friendly. The link is here as well. If you want more information about those urban ag grants that are new that I just mentioned, you have that link here. And then finally, if you want to go find these RFPs and RFAs, which are requests for proposals or requests for applications, cooperative agreements, they go by different terminology. You can go to grants.gov and you can just search keywords in the grants.gov box to be able to download and access proposals to identify when they're due, what's required, and what you need to submit with that. So with that, I am going to turn it back over to Kimber, who can talk a little bit more about the resources that they have. This is our contact information as well here on the screen. Feel free to take that down so we can be of service to you.
And Adrian, there was one more question from Lisa Kahn. Who administers, did you answer this one? Who administers land? Okay.
Yeah. And that's, again, that one's through AMS at USDA. And all those applications can be found on grants.gov.
Great, and I see that the link is posted there too.
Yeah,
excellent.
And then Kathleen typed in the chat box that she's happy to share about their compost project. I want to see those all over Arizona, so I want everybody to apply and learn from Kathleen's brilliance on that, which is really great. And yes, I saw another comment come through. Will you be sharing the presentation with us so we can refer back? Absolutely. We'll make sure that it gets shared. I think Somlin has the emails for everybody who registered, so Somlin can send it out to everybody after.
And we can actually share a recording if people would like to play it back as well. Okay, so Adrian, thank you so much. Jesse, thank you. Great information. So now I am going to dive into a new program at Local First Arizona called the Arizona Economic Recovery Center. And the Arizona Economic Recovery Center is here to try to offer increased capacity and opportunity. That was odd. That was not what I meant to share. Increased opportunity for all of you to be able to apply. So the goal is to really be able to deploy folks that are helpful to you in working to apply for any of these grants. So I'm going to walk you through, if I can just get this to cooperate with me. Thank you. So the goal here is to really help you understand what resources are out there to help you be successful for any of the grants that we just learned about. So the Economic Recovery Center came from the vantage point that Arizona came in last after the last economic downturn in terms of economic recovery. And they measure economic recovery by the length of time it took us to reach pre-recession levels of economic activity. So our goal was to get out in front of this large wave of stimulus dollars, what we also believe is going to be a large wave of foundation dollars that are going to be following on the stimulus dollars and the recovery plan dollars, because so many of the foundations, particularly those that had endowments, performed incredibly well during COVID, and we think they're going to be looking for new places to invest those dollars, and we'd like to steer them toward agricultural opportunities. So what we hear from the communities where we're working is that they're overextended. There's a limited number of people who are doing, everybody's wearing 10 hats. And then in addition, there's budget constraints, and all at the same time, there's an increasingly competitive landscape. So it's no longer just, folks in Arizona trying to figure this out. Everyone in every state is having the same conversation and competing for the same dollars. And we want to ensure that as many dollars as possible come back to Arizona. So with the Recovery Center, there are two ways that you can benefit. One is simple and one is complex. The first one is you can simply visit the website and subscribe to get a list of weekly grant opportunities. We have grants. We also are highlighting some loans that are low interest loans that are easily achievable. And you can customize that list. So if you just want to know about agriculture, you can customize it so that you don't have to look through all of the lists. But right now we're averaging 30 to 40 grants per week. And again, those are federal, state, local, municipal, foundation grants, all lumped into one weekly grants list. We also distill them down into 2-page templates, so they're easier to understand who, what, why, when, where. It's not just a 40-page government grant listing that you have to try to figure out what they're actually trying to say. So that's a real service if you want to just go to the website and sign up for that list. Now, what we can also offer is that if you're interested, you find a grant that you're interested in, you believe you could be competitive for that grant, or if you just need assistance better understanding what it would take to apply for that grant, we can actually help deploy a grant writer, a project manager, maybe if you're partnering with somebody, a facilitator, any type of resource that you feel you need in order to be successful, we can do our best to deploy somebody that can help you with that. So again, what we hear is that communities and nonprofits and farms, they want to improve the quality and competitiveness of their proposals. In addition, they need consultation or editing and writing, and so we're deploying those professionals. And then the whole goal of this is to increase the capacity to ensure that we're achieving transformational change through driving a stronger Arizona food economy. So our key priority areas are finding the right fit opportunities, and we can help you decide whether or not you would be competitive for a particular funding opportunity. We want to fill resource and expertise gaps. So you may say, I'm a great grant writer, but if we win this, I need a project manager. You may say, I need a bookkeeper to come in here and help me set up a plan so that as I report on this grant, I have my books in order. And our overall goal is to improve collaboration, build strategic relationships, and really increase the number of grants coming out of Arizona or coming into Arizona. And then we also want to keep an eye on benchmarking against our peers in other states. How are we doing overall in Arizona? Are we getting our fair share? Are we not? If we're not, why are we not? So areas of support, grant seeking capacity and development, funding research, pre-proposal. You may just need an extra set of eyes on your proposal or your application, and we can find somebody to help you with that. Different types of facilitation, project management, certainly grant writing, all of those things are available. So the types of expertise that we've been able to bring in, we have economic analysis experts who can come in and do a projected economic impact analysis to help strengthen your proposal. We have plenty of experienced grant writers, multicultural, multilingual facilitators, people who are skilled in different systems change initiatives, and certainly people who are skilled at strategic planning. So if we don't have it, we might be able to go out and get it. So at this point, we really just want to encourage you to reach out if you have questions. We have 2 new people joining the team who are going to be evaluating the needs of the different organizations and then identifying a best fit consultant. There is a dating period where both the consultant and the client get to decide if it's a good fit. And if they both agree to move forward, we then get an estimate from the consultant and coordinate payment to them. So all of these services are offered to you at no charge. Okay, so, and then there really is a lengthy process. You may just need a grant writer, but then if you win the grant, you may go, oh my gosh, we won the grant, what do we do now? In which case you would call me back and say, you know, we need a bookkeeper, we need a project manager, whatever that might look like. We want to ensure that we're coaching and teaching along the way to increase your capacity, but also making sure, you know, that we're that extra set of eyes if we can be helpful. So who qualifies? People who don't have a dedicated full-time staff for project development, applications, economic development. So we're looking for the small teams that we can help increase capacity for. It has to support a regional or local strategic plan. And that may sound daunting, but I promise you it's not. There's hardly a strategic plan anywhere that doesn't include health and well-being. But the reason we put that in there is because we really want you to be thinking about who the strategic partners could be in achieving the goal for it could be a city plan, could be a county plan. We don't know, but we want you as food producers to have a seat at the table and talk about what the goals in the strategic plan are and how you're helping to achieve those goals. It must be able to be initiated before the end of 2023. And it must meet the definition of either rural or an LMI urban census tract, either one. So these are the different entities that have made this possible. They have all contributed generously to allow us to pay these consultants to help increase your capacity to ensure we have more wins. And again, they don't get a percentage of the win or anything like that. We pay market rates. So at the same time, we're actually providing some jobs and needed revenue to folks who have also been hit very hard during the pandemic. So again, here's the website, economicrecoveryaz.com. You can sign up for those weekly grants opportunities, customize them so you don't have to read through everything. They're distilled into a 2-page template so you can see who they're targeting and how to apply. And you can certainly contact us if you have questions about it. You can email me and we can determine where you might fit or how we might be able to help. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we have some time here for Q&A. If anyone has any questions for either the local first team or the Pinnacle prevention team. And I also wanted to while we wait, if there's any questions, I also wanted to remind you all, food producers in the room and farmers market folks, you can claim your free listing at Good Food Finder, which is a website that we run that we continually drive new traffic. Our goal is to introduce your businesses to new clients, whether that be markets, grocers, restaurants, eaters, whatever that might be. So please look us up at Good Food Finder.
Kimber.
Yes.
My name is Jerry Lametti. I didn't see my picture up there. How do we get a hold? Once I visit the website that you just talked about, and you said contact us for a free consultation, how do we contact you? I didn't quite get your email address or your number.
Sure. It's Kimber, K-I-M-B-E-R.
Yes.
localfirstaz.com, and I'm adding it
Got
in
it.
the chat as well right now.
Got it. We'll get a hold of you by email. Thank you.
That sounds great. You bet. Absolutely.
Hi, you guys. Rachel Stewart with the Southwest Black Rangers. Quick question. So with the implementation and the planning grants, is it okay if they overlap a little bit? So if you do an implementation plan, but on that grant, if every single dime isn't accounted for, like, can some of that go towards planning, if that makes sense? Thank you.
Hi, Rachel. Good to see you. Yes, it can. So there is definitely distinct projects that you're doing. We know that things don't stay like just in their little silos of this is implementation, this is planning. You just have to be clear on what you're applying for and then be able to elaborate and speak to that in your project plan and in your narrative of the grant that you're applying for. But funding wise, as long as it fits with what you've proposed and what's allowable within that specific funding, absolutely. And we can talk through that with you as well, Rachel, if you're kind of concerned of which one is the right fit.
Great, and I see the question from Lisa. Lisa, absolutely, we can assist farms and ranches. Please reach out to me and we'll take a look at what it is you're trying to apply for and find a way to help assist. No problem at all. Anyone else?
I'll share something. Something that was huge for me is finding out about the in-kind. So I don't know if a lot of people don't realize, like, these grants, not only do they seem daunting, but they seem impossible when you have to come up with so many funds and you don't have anything. But then when you find out that you can match that with your time as part of your project, it really makes these things kind of come alive. So hopefully, if you guys didn't know that, I wasn't aware of that until recently. So that's a really great part of matching your time that you're putting into the project to do the cost sharing.
That's a great point, Rachel. So a lot of USDA grants do require some type of in-kind. With some of these COVID relief dollars, they've reduced that allocation. Sometimes it's dollar for dollar, sometimes it's 25% of your ask. In some of these instances for what you're applying for, they've reduced the match, is what they call it, down to 10%. Some of the grants are cash match, and then some of them do allow for cash or in-kind. So that's exactly what Rachel was talking about there. In-kind time could be like the time and effort calculated for the time and effort you're putting into something, other project staff are putting into something. There's a volunteer rate calculation that you can use if volunteers are part of that formula as well too. But that's a really important piece to be able to leverage. I'm glad you mentioned that.
And then I just wanted to address the question also, similarly to what Lisa asked. Shannon asked a question about whether or not the Economic Recovery Center can provide assistance to individuals or groups of farmers, especially those that want to transition to a nonprofit. We absolutely can assist. I just want to make sure that we're all clear. The guidelines of who can apply don't necessarily come from us. They will be defined by the actual grant or application that you're applying for. So it may specifically say that individuals cannot apply, in which case you can't apply, so we don't offer the assistance. But if you found an application that supports individual growers, then absolutely we can help you with those applications. We're helping a diverse group of people right now achieve a bunch of different wide-ranging goals, but I would say email us and we can get a better idea of what you're trying to do and maybe help you find an application that would be appropriate for whichever group you represent, whether it's nonprofit, individual, for-profit, nonprofit, whatever it might be.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, Lloyd.
Hi. I was listening to everything. I must apologize. I just came home from surgery. I'm a little bit groggy, but I got all your emails. And is there any phone numbers that we can talk to you and Adrian and get as much help? We're on a short window. We have to start planting in September. And we're working with Paris on a program to market. Is there any way to get a phone number, talk to you guys and get as much speedy help as possible?
Sure. So I would think that you might need to talk to Pinnacle Prevention first to figure out what you could apply for, and then if you need assistance, the Economic Recovery Center. So Adrian, what would be the best number for Lloyd? Oh, I see.
Yeah, I just typed that in the chat box, Lloyd, but if you also have a pen and paper, our office line is 480-307-6360. And we'll just kind of navigate and triage when you call in terms of who on the team is the best person to connect to. And we'll talk you through all those moving parts. We know crop planning is such an important part of all of this. So yeah, trying to think strategically can get a little tricky, but we'll figure it out with you.
Okay, I got the phone number and we've already secured third-party distribution permits from USDA, and we're just finishing up on our state of Arizona and USDA organic certification. So we're ready to go. We'll be in touch with you tomorrow.
That's great, Lloyd. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much.
And Jennifer, I just put my number in the chat box there for you if you would like assistance through the Economic Recovery Center. Shannon, I do have one of our consultants helps with nonprofit setups. She is a retired CPA, so if you want to shoot an email, the kimber@localfirstaz.com, I can make an introduction and she can help you navigate the process to setting up a nonprofit. Great. Anyone else have any questions for us? It's nice to see so many great folks on the line here.
No questions, but I just want to comment towards Shannon. I addressed her directly, but I think it's pretty awesome that you have that vision of the Urban Community Learning Center farm. I think that's a huge need and definitely opportunity there. So if you want to partner with Project Roots, you know, just know that we're interested in seeing what you got cooking over there, Shannon.
That's great, Dion. One other thing before we go today, you know, and Somlin from my team brought this up, which I think is a good one. Are there any other sessions that we could offer like this? Is this format, you know, a quick hour, lots of information, connecting to each other? Are there any other sessions that you all feel would be helpful that either Local First or Pinnacle Prevention could offer? Okay, well, if you think of any, oh, here's one, how to start community organized events. Okay.
Love that one.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a weird question, but I'm like so for all of this. So I'm just so juiced that you guys are doing this. And I'm like, okay, I see how this can fit in. I see how this can fit in. And I'm like, I don't want to feel limited. I'm like, I don't feel like there's a cap, but I'm just like, I'm really excited and thankful that you guys are doing this. Can we tell people, or is it just sign up through that website? Because I have a friend who has a nonprofit who's starting a logistics warehouse for other nonprofits. And she's here too. So I wanted to tell her about this. Just tell her to sign up on the website and she'll know about these kind of events.
Sure, yes. There's a couple of different ways to do that, Rachel. You could go to the Good Food Finder website and subscribe there. That's one list. And then you could also, Adrienne, how would they get on your list?
Yeah, if you go to azfsn.org, and Jesse, if you can type that in the chat box, you can sign up for our Arizona Food System Network emails and communications that come out. We have lots of different events, gatherings, all sorts of things there where you can get information.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, I see some good ideas in the chat box here, so we'll take those internally and brainstorm them. I like the meetup idea, isn't that fun? Okay. All right.
And really quick, if you are planning on applying for these grants, I think, is it Regan, do you need to help to find partnerships so you can collaborate instead of applying individually? That is absolutely key. In all of these USDA proposals is collaboration and not duplicating efforts. So you can email Jesse, again, Jesse, if you want to drop your email in the chat box, who facilitates all of our food system network work. She has her finger on the pulse of kind of who's applying for what and where you can tap in based off of community, so she can help you through that as well.
And then if you bring in partners that you haven't worked with before, we can certainly hire a facilitator to help you make sure that you're clear on goals, scopes of work, who's getting paid what, all of that type of thing. It's important that you have somebody help you navigate that so that you're clear on who's doing what in the partnership. All right. Well,
sorry to interrupt. I was also going to say, if you are planning on applying for something and want to share, and please feel free to send that my way too, so I can kind of try to keep a list. And so if I get people that are interested in collaborating, I can also share. So we know some of our other partners who have already told us they're applying, but if you would like to share that with us so we can add it to our list and hopefully we can get some good collaborations going, that would be fantastic.
great. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, thank you. I just heartfelt thank you to the team at Pinnacle Prevention. I know our team at Local First is so grateful for your partnership. And thank you all for your time today.
I'm so sorry. One more question. It was about the June 11th deadline for this one grant for the specialty crop block. You said if you don't apply, are those funds still available? Is it like through the state? No, okay.
Yeah, only the Department of Ag can apply for them. And if for any reason they decided not to, those funds would get allocated to another state. So that would be, if they didn't, that would be like leaving dollars on the table, and that should never happen. So they are applying, so we're good.
No, I meant like for producers applied through
Oh,
you.
to those, yeah, no. So if you don't apply, then they would probably allocate them to other projects. So as soon as we know when you can apply for those locally, when they've brought those in, we'll communicate that out to you, Rachel, and everybody else. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take good care. Bye-bye.